Olá, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream. You're also on YouTube and on a podcast. You can get that probably best via Spotify, the Good Morning Portugal podcast, where we just basically take the audio from the live stream and make it available as a podcast for those who prefer to hear it rather than see it. We're here this morning and we're looking at a particular question in the more of the open-ended discussion part of the stream this morning. That's our formula. We give you the facts and figures at the beginning, and then we open up more into the opinion and speculation sort of stuff, because I guess that's where we are right now, isn't it? Is we are in a great time of uncertainty, and inevitably some sort of prediction and speculation comes in. And I was sent this question after posting the video of yesterday's live stream to YouTube. This is a chap called Rodrigo who asked the question. I'm concerned about this lockdown thing. Here in Portugal, there is no talk anywhere until when it will last. There is some talk, Rodrigo, to be fair, but he also says we are destroying our fragile economy and have no absolute certainty if this really works. People will soon get crazy, start fighting each other. Any prediction of when this will end? Well, I suppose anyone's guess is as good as anyone else's at the moment. If people are wanting to be very specific about that, but that will be our discussion later on this morning after we've had a look at the facts and figures. So let's do that now. Let's go to the DGS screen website, where we can find out what's going on at the moment with the current situation in Portugal, COVID-19 and the coronavirus. And you'll see there that there are now just over 6,400 confirmed cases. 43 people have recovered. There have been 140 deaths as of, I think the figures of these were most recently published last night. And suspected cases, 44,206 suspected cases. And what's interesting about this particular website is you can get a visual on what's going on across the country and see what the hotspots are. And predictably, with an infectious disease, I'm no scientist, but this is me and my assumption here. But with an infectious disease, that's going to be obviously taking its root in places of high population density. And you can see that reflected in the visual here, with Lisbon and Porto being the epicenters of infection and cases at the moment. And then, across the rest of the country, peppered are a number of cases. You can drill down on this site and you can see case by concelhos or by regions there as well to see. So clearly the north is way ahead in terms of cases, and followed by Lisbon and Central after that. And the Algarve comes fourth in that list with a very low number currently, and thankfully as well, because there's been quite a movement of population in the Algarve as well, although with the lockdown that has been attenuated somewhat, despite people wishing to get away for the Easter holiday. That's Portuguese people wanting to move from north to the south, which is a traditional feature of the Easter holiday. And what I'll do is read to you a message from the Prime Minister about that as well, just to give you a bit of background from Safe Communities Portugal on what the Prime Minister's saying at the moment. So there you go, 140 deaths so far, 43 recoveries, and we're heading towards 6,500 confirmed cases here in Portugal on this Tuesday, the 31st of March, 2020. Excuse me, I get really self-conscious when I cough now. It's just where we are with this thing, isn't it? And I believe myself to have a residual cold from the winter as we're going into spring now. But it's the first thought on my mind anyway, maybe yours as well. Do let me know what you're thinking as well at the moment. Give me a shout out as to where you are. Either call in, you can if you want to discuss later on in the show what's going on, and Rodrigo's comments there from the beginning. And a lovely lot of mentions yesterday from people saying where they were and how they were getting on. So do that in the comment box, and then I can put that up on the screen. If you've got a question or a suggestion or an update from your part of Portugal, I think that's going to be more and more important as we stick together and pull through this together, is operating as a community. But if you want to call in phone-in style without being on the screen, that's 913-590-303. You can add me on WhatsApp in that way as well, 913-590-303, or make a comment on the screen, or even join me on the screen if you've got an important message to share with everybody right here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. So who's there at the moment? Give us a shout. And let's now look at the situation from Safe Communities Portugal. I've got an app, actually. I interviewed a very brilliant tech, Nelson, a guy from a tech company in Matosinhos. Although I think that's where they're based, but he's working from home, obviously, at the moment. Excuse me. And they've come up with the COVID app, which is a self-recording kind of diagnostic tool that was given 1 million texts. It's text-based, and NOS, the telecoms company, gifted them 1 million SMS texts to facilitate this thing and make it work. So I'll tell you about that as well a bit later on. It's really good how this particular tech company and tech companies in general, I think, are rising to the occasion and helping out with their application of tech, which is obviously better than people getting together right now. And this can all be done from the comfort of your own home, and you report your symptoms into the app, and it gives you some guidance on what to do. So it's pretty cool, and I'll tell you more about that later. But let's go back to Safe Communities Portugal, and I would like to share with you a little bit of background on what the Prime Minister has been saying to everybody. This is from the news page of safecommunitiesportugal.com. Good sources for me for information at the moment. I've found the coverage on the Portugal news pretty good. This is obviously not a newspaper. This is a community service, safecommunitiesportugal.com. So, make of that what you will. And also, there's a chap called Craig Morfitt who posts in the expat group, Porto expats, I believe, but that gets shared around. His analysis is pretty good as well. He goes into the facts and figures and then some connected stories as well, or articles, I should say. I'm not keen on the phrase story. Excuse me a minute. That's better. So the Prime Minister is saying that we're about to enter the most critical month of the pandemic. This, as I say, is from the news pages of safecommunitiesportugal.com. The country, in quotes here, will enter the most critical month of this pandemic, so it is essential that we prepare for it, said Prime Minister Antonio Costa after a working visit to the Covid-19 Military Support Centre for the pandemic at the Old Hospital Militar de Ajuda and the Hospital Support Unit of Câmara and Universidade de Lisboa in the university's swimming pools. I'm not sure what that means, but he was on a tour basically in Lisbon on the 30th of March. Yesterday. Prime Minister stressed that the virus only goes where we take it because we are the ones who carry it, and that is why it is essential to move as little as possible and remain as isolated as possible. If we do that, we are not transmitting the virus to anyone, nor are we at risk of being infected, he said, adding that the fight against this pandemic depends above all on each act with responsibility, with discipline. This Easter, we will have to be a really different Easter in which people cannot go to land, nor can they go to the Algarve, and families cannot also gather to celebrate it. It is a sacrifice essential to saving us all, he said, adding that the best way to be together right now is to be really apart. That's incredible, isn't it? So, yes, a different kind of Easter. Easter is really important, obviously, in Portugal, a country with a Catholic tradition. And also, you know, how that holiday, the Easter holiday, is really important to people here. And the urging there of the Prime Minister to say the best way to be together right now is to really be apart and not to go to the land, which I guess is the idea that many Portuguese people in the cities would go to their country homes as well. So he's basically saying best not to do that, best not to go to the Algarve, best to stay put and not to spread the virus. He also said that, quote, knowing that we have been successful, fortunately, in lowering the peak of this pandemic, that is, in lowering the moment when the greatest number of people will be infected, thus prolonging its duration. This means that we will also have to prolong the measures that have been adopted with a state of emergency or without a state of emergency. The President of the Republic, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, this week will take the initiative to renew or not the state of emergency, giving the government its opinion and being the decision of the Assembly of the Republic. So, yes, as I understand it, we were looking at a review to take us forward from the 3rd of April. The state of emergency, as I understand it, finishes on the 2nd of April. I suspect that the state of emergency will be extended because the expectation for the peak of the infection was supposed to be in April, and now has moved forward to May. Comment from Owen just come in. Carl, you know me, my narrative has changed. Mine, I can't comment on screen or live, but I still listen and watch as I respect what you're trying to do, which is to inform. Maybe we could chat offline. One love always. Thank you for that, Owen. That's an intriguing message, isn't it? So I'll be having a chat with Owen, obviously, in due course. Any other messages? Gladly received and read out here on the Good Morning Portugal stream. And as Owen is saying there, yes, my mission is to inform people and to keep people connected. And to stay open to the information, keep it as much within the facts and figures at the beginning. And then, yeah, of course, we can go into sharing opinions, sharing concerns, and so on, and trying to make some sense of it collectively. That's what I'm about. So thanks for that, Owen. Really appreciate that. So let's go into a little bit more back to the factual as we can be. And let's have a look at some of the background information at the moment. And this from, let me go back to the situation with the SEF, the Immigration Bureau here in Portugal. This is a slightly older story, but I didn't cover it before. Effective from March the 30th, the Foreigners and Borders Service, the SEF, have ceased taking all client appointments. So you needn't be concerned if you have some issue with the SEF at the moment and you were feeling under pressure to get to them to make your stay in this country legal and safe. All appointments already made will be dealt with in the same chronological order so as to promote fairness starting on July the 1st. Excuse me, that has really been kicked down the street, isn't it? That's probably not the best use of words, but you see what I mean. Moved way forward into the future. All clients with applications in the system at the declaration of the national emergency on March the 18th will be considered to be properly documented until the 30th of June. Obviously, any expiry date will need to correspond to the date that the new documents are issued, and we expect clarification on this at a later date. I think that's a bit of extra info from Safe Communities Portugal. These provisional approvals are considered valid before all public services, namely to obtain the number of users, access to the National Health Service or other healthcare rights, access to social support benefits, signing of lease contracts, signing of employment contracts, opening bank accounts, and contacting essential public services. A lot of that, I mean, we're in a new normal now, aren't we? So I don't know how many people are signing employment contracts right now, but there will be exceptions, obviously. Also, visas, probably in the health service. Also, visas and documents related to the stay of foreign citizens in national territory that expired after February the 24th are valid until June the 30th. These documents, as well as a citizen card, driving licence, criminal record and certificates, must be accepted by public authorities for all legal purposes. SCF will continue to provide in-person assistance only for requests considered urgent. That is, citizens who need to travel or who prove the urgent need to leave the national territory for unforeseen and avoidable reasons, and citizens who require replacement documents due to theft or loss. Regarding the issue of passports, SCF will now accept only urgent requests. Good on Portugal and the administration here for just basically putting that on ice for the time being. And as I understand it, if you're here as an immigrant, your rights are protected and you are automatically granted temporary residency so that you can access health and benefit support, which is a very generous and right move, I think, personally. So, yes, we are moving more into the opinion and would welcome your comments about that right now and anything else that you wish to share as we move into the more opinionated and speculative part of the show. Because, I'm trying to get the balance right here. One more thing to tell you from the safecommunitiesportugal.com coverage is that yesterday at 6 o'clock, the Prime Minister was asking for generosity to be organised to avoid waste. This is very interesting because I think people naturally want to help and they want to get food and aid together for the less fortunate people who just don't have access to those sorts of things, people who've run out of money and so on. And he makes a good point here. The Prime Minister today called for all donations and generosity to help fight the pandemic to be coordinated with regional health administrations so as not to waste any resources, as happened with other major catastrophes. The mobilisation of all is essential, but this mobilisation must be organised. It's very important that whoever wants to make donations take initiatives, try to articulate them through regional health administrations under the risk of us having the concentration of many resources where they least expect them. They are necessary, and to fail us essential resources where they are absolutely indispensable, appealed Antonio Costa. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? And my interpretation of that is, let's get organised with our giving here. We have seen, he says, in previous experiences, in the face of major catastrophes, when generosity is not properly organised, we lose and waste resources. And today we cannot waste any resources, he warned. Fair play. The Prime Minister began by thanking the work of all the municipalities and universities in the country in the face of this pandemic, also emphasising the work of the armed forces, which has been extraordinary on all fronts. He said, he reiterated this message: we must hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst. And I've got to say, that's just good advice at any time in the world that we live in, isn't it? So yes, be prepared for the worst, hope for the best, be prepared for the worst. Now, let us return now to where we began, and that is the question that I received yesterday from Rodrigo. And I'll pop that up on the screen so you can see exactly what was being said there. And this is following yesterday's stream. And Rodrigo, I'm concerned about this lockdown thing. Here in Portugal, there is no talk anywhere until when it will last. We're destroying our fragile economy and have no absolute certainty if this really works. People will soon get crazy, start fighting each other. Any prediction of when this will end? Well, Rodrigo, and that was on the, I've put that up on the Good Morning Portugal Facebook page there. And I've got to say, like I said before earlier on, the lockdown thing, as you refer to it, I suspect will be extended. This is purely my opinion now, okay? And I welcome yours as well. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. I think the state of emergency will be extended because the peak has been the prediction for the peak of infection and obviously the fatalities that come from that has now moved from April to May. It's been moved into the future with the prediction. So I think to help with that and to further delay and flatten the curve, as it were, lockdown, state of emergency is likely to continue. But that is a recommendation that comes from the president and then is executed by the National Assembly. And Rodrigo says there's no talk anywhere until when it will last. Well, I think it was originally a 15-day state of emergency enacted on the 18th of March of this month. And it will be reviewed certainly by the 2nd of April. And then my suspicions, I suspect it will be extended beyond that. And I don't know if it happens in 15-day increments, but that was the first stage of state of emergency, was 15 days from the 18th of March. We're destroying our fragile economy, excuse me, and have no absolute certainty if this really works. I don't know if we can have absolute certainty, Rodrigo. We are certainly... we had a fragile economy anyway, in my view, and this certainly isn't helping. People will soon get crazy and start fighting each other. Well, that is, I suppose, an insight into what can happen with human nature and when people get scared and desperate. And I guess we just have to do all we can to avoid that happening. And for those among us who feel safe and wise and well, is to urge other people who are losing it, as it were, to hang on in there. And we need to work together. I'm guessing that's the best way to stop craziness, as I think you put it there, and people fighting with each other. You know, that is certainly part of the human repertoire and certainly is exacerbated in times of fear and when people are anxious and when they don't have resources and so on. But we need to make sure that they do. I mean, that's what we should do anyway, I think, in my view, in a sane society, is give people what they need so we don't find ourselves in these ridiculous situations. Certainly cover the basics and create the circumstances for sanity. But as to be said, I'm not sure we had those before this to a massive degree. Portugal certainly does a lot better than a lot of countries, but all of the Western nations certainly have had before this a lot to do to maintain the well-being of their citizens. But also, I think we have to take some responsibility for ourselves and our own communities as well. To me, that's what could come from this, is that we work more closely together as we move out of this and as we reimagine and come up with something more robust and resilient that doesn't get pushed over in the way that our society has been completely, what can you say? Just been changed, turned on a sixpence. Maybe I should use a less colloquial stuff than that, but it's changed rapidly in a way that no one could see. And who could have foreseen this? how is it that we are, in our centralisation? I suppose that would happen, wouldn't it? If we are governed from the centre, and the centre is able to make sweeping changes of this kind, that is what happens. That's what we're seeing. I guess if we were worked, if there was more power decentralised to the locality, the centralised directorates could be interpreted locally, and I'm sure people would see sense. But I just think, certainly in my native UK, we are seeing a country governed from the centre, and that doesn't seem to be working terribly well. A lot of dissent comes from centralised government when there is little or no power out in the provinces, and that's my to use another money colloquialism. That's my two pence on that. Any prediction of when this will end? I mean, anyone's guess is as good as anyone else's this morning, Rodrigo. So I don't know. What does anyone else think who might be watching or checking in this morning? Veronica says from. Good morning from Alcaria. Where is that, Veronica? I'm not sure where that is. What's happening in Alcaria? Anyone? Good to hear from you. Thank you for saying hi. Really appreciate it. And do let me know where that is and how it's going for you in that part of Portugal. And that's what we intend to do. I'll sign off pretty soon now, but call 913-590-303 if you want to join the stream on any morning too. As the Prime Minister was saying, we need to organise ourselves well so that the moves to help other people are not wasted. So that, I mean, that's a good reason for centralisation, of course, is to movement of resources and to know what's going on. But we've got such great technology that we can manage these things now. I think to we know we can find out what people need. We can get what people need and get it to them. If big companies can do that, I'm sure we can organise that as communities as well, with a little bit of the know-how shared that is in our collective consciousness and intelligence at the moment. Veronica says yes, Alcaria is next to Porto de Mos. Lovely part of Portugal. How's it going there, Veronica? Do let us know. Yes, I would. I said I would also share with you the COVID app, which is a fantastic piece of technology that's arisen in this situation. Spoke to one of the founders of the company, Masano, who's behind this yesterday, and this is a self just finally, before I go, this rather marvelous piece of technology. If you want to call before I do leave this morning, it's 913-590-303, or as Veronica is doing, shout out on the screen. We're quiet normally, so it doesn't feel as if much has changed in that part of the world, in Alcaria, apart from reduced travel, supermarkets, coffee, etc. Yes, indeed. I went to my local supermarket yesterday. A rather somber affair, but people were in pretty good shape, it would appear. And the shelves, most importantly, the shelves were well stocked again, and people were observing all that they were supposed to be observing with social distancing, etc., within the shop. So let me just try and share this app with you again, the COVID app, and the self monitoring system. There we go. And you can see now, Google is translating that for me, thankfully. But monitor your COVID-19 symptoms safely and for free. You need a Portuguese mobile to do this. Not to be confused with the COVID-19 tracker, they point out, but you register with your mobile phone number, Portuguese one, as I've said. You monitor by twice a day, filling in your symptoms, and it will feed back to you what the best thing is to do with the information that you've given. This, I think, is a cracking bit of technology and has risen to the occasion. So you go to covidapp.pt. Actually, let me put that on the screen for you so that you can see exactly what you're dealing with there. And I will share that with you. HTTPS and covidapp.pt. There you go. and we'll stop the screen share. covidapp.pt, but I don't think it's all the W's. It's https ://covidapp.pt. This is great. I was going to go a little while ago, but morning from Eloise in Panela. Again, a lovely, wonderful part of Portugal. This is the choker at the moment for me. I'm hearing from people from these lovely parts of Portugal thinking, oh, I'd so love to go and visit Panela or Porto de Mos again. But obviously that's not possible at the moment. These are now wish lists destinations for me. How's it going, Eloise, in Panela this morning? Do let us know, or come back again tomorrow and give us a report from where you are. I'm guessing, in these areas where expats and explorers are fairly well established, that the relationships are good and it's bringing out a new side of collaboration and community connection. But let me know. Let me know what's happening. I think I'll leave it there for this morning. And I obviously need to go and speak to Owen now about his views on this. But as he says there, and as I'll reiterate, one love always, okay? Got to stick together, got to work together. And more importantly, or as importantly, as we move out of this, let us work together to do that and imagine and figure out a more robust, resilient way of us living our lives so that something as horrific as this, I think these things like this do happen, but it's how well prepared we are for them and what our preparedness, our plans and our position in relation to it is, that's really important, isn't it? We've been left wanting, I think, with this current situation in the Western world, if I can refer to it as that. And I think that's it for now, for the shout outs coming from you, the community. Thank you for being here this morning on the Good Morning Portugal stream. One love always, as Owen says. Take care, bye for now, and I shall see you tomorrow.